Hey friends, welcome back to Susie on the Farm. If you're new here, I want to tell you a little bit about myself and my channel. Here on YouTube, I love to go thrift store shopping. I love to find forgotten thrifted items and make them over and sell them here in my shop. In life, I am a small business owner. I have a store here in North Alabama where I sell all the items that I make over, some vintage finds, as well as tons of craft supplies. And I also have a website, susieonthefarm.com, where you can purchase all your supplies there as well. In life, I am a mother of 4, a Gigi to 3 with 1 on the way, and I'm married to a pretty cool dude. So I'm so glad y'all are here. In today's video, we're gonna do some thrift store makeovers. You may have seen a couple of these before, but you may not have, and there'll be some new ones as well. Let's go ahead and get started. Can't wait to show you guys what I've come up with today. For our first project is this massive bamboo vase. It's very light. I've had it a long time. I dropped it and broke it and glued it back together a long time ago, and then it just got forgotten about. I have mixed DIY apothecary paint and some fusion fresco texture powder. You could use baking soda, anything you want to create texture. And I got to do some texture on this because there's quite a few little scratches and dings that I need to hide. And I'm using a chip brush, and as you can see, I'm just kind of pouncing the paint on very messily like. And this is after the first coat is dried. You can see all that really great texture, and that's exactly what I wanted. For the second coat, I don't need to worry about pouncing it on. That texture has already been created. But I'm going to use a paint inlay on this, and I have had a really tough time getting through the Floriography paint inlay. So I am going to load this thing up. I've cut all these down, and I'm just randomly going to place them in the wet paint all over this vase. And the way you use a paint inlay is you just put it into your wet paint, you mist your paint inlay, you put the paint side down, press it down into there, and then you'll want to wet it again to activate all that paint so it comes and it embeds into your wet paint. I'm just randomly putting these on here. Sorry for the angle. It's the only way that I could really get this in the scene. It is so large. Like I said, I'm just randomly putting these on here. No rhyme or reason or anything. I just want to load it up. This is going to be very unique. All of the projects that I do are pretty unique. All the upcycles that I do. So here's after I get them all placed. As you can see, I've overlapped a few. It's still wet. Sorry for the messy room you're getting there. My studio stays that way. I tend to use the whole room when I craft. So I got to let these dry, and then once they're dry, here comes the fun part. Once they're dry, they'll turn back white, and to release them, you'll just want to mist your paint inlay, let it sit for just a minute, and pull it back. Now remember, I texture painted this, so I'm definitely not going for any kind of perfection here. I'm not worried about the panty lines, as I call them. I'm not worried about any of those wrinkles. I think all of that's just going to add to the character of this piece. And everything was going great. They're all looking really good until I get to this one. For some reason, it pulled off a bunch of the paint. I'm going to redo that one. I can't remember if I do it on camera or not. But all the rest of them were perfect. I love how they turned out. Once I got them all done, I decided there was a few spots that just looked empty. So I went back, I painted that area again, and I actually reused a lot of them. You can reuse your paint inlay up to 3 times. It just gets a little bit lighter every time, and you do the same exact way. So I filled in those spots, and I redid the one that pulled paint up. No idea why it did that. I'm sure it's something that I did. And then I took it outside and I spray sealed it. I had already sprayed water all over this. I didn't want to risk making anything run or bleed. So I just took it outside. I gave it a good spray, and that's all there is to it. So if you've been afraid of paint inlays, here's your sign. You don't need to be. They're not meant to be perfect. They're meant to be fun and beautiful, and they are, no matter how they come out. Y'all, I can't express how unique this vase is. And actually, it's quite large too. I think it's almost 3 foot tall. This one can't be shipped, but it's in the store for sale. And look at all that beautiful texture. I love how this one turned out. You can never go wrong with apothecary paint, if you ask me. You guys let me know what you think about this. And let me know if you've tried a paint inlay before and what do you think of them. Project number 2 is a super simple one. I picked up this frame. Looks like I paid $3.99. Not sure if it's was half off or anything, but I just really loved the wood tone and the shape of it. Initially, I thought about using the back side because sometimes I do like to use the back side of these wooden frames like this. So I started removing all of the staples, and then I removed the backing, and I painted the entire thing with 2 coats of probably casement. I'm pretty sure this is Fusion Mineral Paint in the color casement. Can't see the jar, but that's kind of my go-to bright white. That or beadboard. It could be beadboard by DIY. Either one of those are a beautiful white. And I got lucky. There was no bleed through on this. So I gave the front and the back both 2 coats of this white paint. And then once that had dried, I distressed it, and I am using sandpaper to distress it. So that leads me to believe that it was Fusion paint. I did do this a while back, so I'm sorry that I can't remember. I've actually been pretty sick this week. So I had some footage of some that had never made videos that I had done over time. So you'll see some of those in this video because I just didn't have the time or the energy while I was sick to do this. I also painted the mat and the backing in the white. And then this, to finish this off, added one of Connie Lines and Designs rice papers. This one's called Old Country Church, and it fit this frame perfectly and looks so beautiful against that white. This one has already sold because, like I said, I did it a while back. I think this project is probably my favorite for today, and it's odd because it's not something I normally do. So a few weeks ago, I was at my local thrift store, and somebody had donated their entire collection of ceramic shoes. They had them all priced ridiculously high. This one was $10, which I was not going to pay. But Mondays are dollar days at my local thrift store, and lo and behold, this one was still there, and yellow tags were $1 this week. So I snagged this shoe for $1. Now, I was immediately inspired by this shoe to do a witch's shoe. Now, spooky stuff is not normally my jam, but this shoe was just screaming witchy. So I painted it with 1 coat. It only took 1 coat of Little Black Dress. Now I am taking a little bit of gold rub and buff, and I'm really just kind of dry brushing over the trim areas of the shoe and just going over some of those detail areas to highlight the different parts of the shoe. Once I did that, I felt like the middle part of the shoe where it has some design inlaid in it, it needed to be a little bit of a different color, but I didn't want to paint it. So I took some of the Fusion aging wax. This is a go-to of mine. I use it all the time. And I went over just that middle part of the shoe, hoping some of that brown would stay down in there. I probably should have used black. I think I would have got more of effect because really once I wiped this back, I couldn't tell much of a difference. And I ended up having to go back over some spots where it rubbed off the paint. This is the piece de resistance of this. So I'm using the Apothecary label stamp, and I'm making a little tag. Tags go great with anything, no matter what you're making. If you do a tag, it's just a little extra piece. You guys see if you can figure out what I'm going to put on this tag. So I'm using the smallest letters, and I'm stamping these words on it. with IOD black ink, and I'm using a thin mount just to pick the letters up because, as you can see, I'm not worried about perfection on this one. Don't have to be perfectly straight. It's all about the appearance that you're going for. So when I got this stamped, I had a little tag shape actually laying on my desk from junk journaling. So I just traced it out with a pencil, and I then cut it out into the shape of a tag. While I'm thinking about it, you guys can get all of the IOD products, the Fusion Mineral Paint, the DIY paint, recycled decoupage papers, Connie Lines and Designs, rice papers, all on my website, SusieOnTheFarm.com, if you're looking to do your own upcycles. So I just stamped this onto some tea-dyed paper that I had. I need to back it, and I had this piece of packaging. I don't throw much away. In junk journaling, you can use just about anything. So I had saved this, and I just used a glue stick to glue my words down onto it. Then I cut out the shape of the tag, punched a hole, used some Tim Holtz ink to ink up the edges, and that's all for this tag, except for I got this sticker book out to stamp on there, so I'd have a harder surface to stamp on. And then I got to thinking, I think there's a shoe in there, so I went through my little sticker book looking for the boot to put on here. I found it, and it would have been absolutely perfect if I had planned ahead of time. And if I would have had more time, I probably would have redone this tag and planned for this, which I probably, now that I'm saying it out loud, will go back and do it, but I just didn't have time when I was doing this project, because I think if I had some gold on the tag and that boot, it would be even more perfect than it turned out. But it didn't fit. But y'all, I want to tell you about this sticker book. I love it. I got it on Amazon, and I will link it below. If you love stickers like I do, you got to get this one. So anyway, I just ended up putting a couple of little stickers on there to give it some detail. But like I said, I am going to go back and redo it. Lastly, I sealed up the shoe with some Big Top, and I just love it. I added this little gold tassel with some black lace, and I had a black rose. And I also, just a little extra detail, put a spider charm on there as well. And how stinking cute is this? I love it. I hope you guys do too. So last year when I was trying to get my Facebook monetized, I made a series of short videos called Flippin' Friday. I posted them on YouTube, but YouTube really didn't share them a whole lot, so they didn't get a lot of views. This was one of those projects, so you may have seen it, but most of you probably have not. I found this really cool hat. What is this? A cheese box. And someone had already DIY'd it. They did a stencil on it. The purple and white I wasn't crazy about, but I did want to go bold with this one. So I am using Flirtatious, which is a DIY clay-based paint, one of the newer colors. And I am also going to use the Queen Bee decoupage paper. This is recycled decoupage paper. And I placed it how I wanted it and then cut it out. I really wanted to make sure to get that whole crown in it, but it left an area at the bottom that didn't have it, but that's no problem. I just pieced a little bit there after. So when I'm decoupaging, especially a larger piece like this, I like to do a starter strip. For this one, I'm using the Fusion Decoupage and Transfer Gel. I always either use that or DIY Liquid Patina. They both do great, but for this one, I am using the Fusion. Then I like to mist my decoupage paper before laying it down. That just eliminates any wrinkles, and then I go over the top and I work my way down with the paintbrush until I get it all done. When the decoupage paper is dry, to remove the excess around, I use my little finger sander, and in a downward motion, I will go down and remove all the excess paper. It doesn't really matter which grit you're using. This one probably had a 220 on it, but it easily removes the paper off the edges. Once my paper was done, I decided I need to do something on that pink. And I got out the Queen Bee stamp from IOD. Oh, I did cut those slits too and sand the paper just a little bit in those slits. Anyway, I got out the Queen Bee stamp and I just alternated between the bee and the crown all the way around using IOD black ink. I think this turned out perfect, and I do still have this one available. It is quite large. The dimensions and everything are included on the website. To finish it off, I sealed up the paint and went ahead and put another coat over the top, and this turned out really good. I actually love it and cannot believe that it is still available. This was a really fun project. I found this English blue cheese crock, and I also had these two little planter pots that had never sold. I'm going to paint them with crinoline because I thought they were the closest match. This was before the crockery color actually came out from the Cottage Colors, or I would definitely have done that one. But I gave both of these 2 coats inside and out of the crinoline, and once they dried, they matched up pretty well. I'm going to use the Antiquity stamp to put the labels on these. I was inspired by that cheese crock, and I thought these were a really good match with that, and I liked how they looked. Little trick for doing rounded stamps on rounded surfaces is to use some packing tape. So I just get a piece that's a good bit bigger than the thing, and then I fold the sides down so I have something to grip to that's not sticky. Having a little problems here, but I did finally get it, and then I just turn it over, use some of the black ink, and then I will carefully place it onto the rounded object and stick it down to the side. It doesn't have to be perfectly stuck, just enough where you can take your hands off of it and rub it. It's just really hard to hold a stamp in a curved position like that while you're making the impression. And when I pulled this up, some of the tape did take a little spot of the paint off, but that's no issue either. I can touch it up or distress it either way. Did the other one the same way, and I had a little bit of ink where I didn't need it, so I touched it up as well. I finished these off with some clear wax just to seal that paint in. I also did a little stamp on the back, but it really doesn't show. So I cleared them, and then to finish them off, I put some of these I found these succulents. I thrifted these succulents in something that was already arranged, took them apart, and they were so lifelike looking that I just loved them. So I filled them with these succulents and styled them all together. These are already sold as well, but it was a really fun project and one that's be very easy for you all to duplicate. So we're kind of going all over the place with today's video. Now we are going to do Christmas. We did Halloween earlier, but remember I did film these at different times. And I actually did this one last year using the Christmas Tapers mold. And I do still have 3 of these available if you've got to get some Christmas before the new release comes out next week. So I am dusting these with some cornstarch before I use some IOD air dry clay, and I'm just pushing that in there. I'm not going all the way down the taper. I only need the top part of these, so I'm using the Santa, the snowman, and maybe that's a snowflake. And I've thrifted these spoons, 99 cents for all 3 of them. I always pick up wooden utensils. They're so fun to upcycle. I need to get some more. It's been a while since I did these. So I finished all 3, and then I'm using my go-to glue is Type Bond Quick and Thick. It sticks pretty fast, so I'm using a little brush to cover the entire back all the way out. I want to make sure it's stuck down really good. Whenever you're painting molds, you don't want to have a gap in them. And then I just use my finger, because the clay is still wet, to lightly tap them down to make sure that they're good and connected. I also had thrifted this little vase, and I thought it would be a perfect holder for these 3 utensils. So I'm also painting it. All of these are being painted with Fusion Mineral Paint in the color Chateau. I let the molds dry overnight, and I'm coming back now and painting them with Chateau. And once, I think I had to do 2 coats on these. I painted the entire spoons, the molds, and everything. And then once they are dry, I'm going to do my go-to antiquing. This is not antique, aging wax from Fusion. You could also use dark wax from DIY. They're very similar. This is just my go-to. And when you put this on this beige light color paint, you think, oh, I'm making it look so dirty, but then when you come back and wipe the excess off, it is so beautiful. I did the same thing with the vase and wiped it back, and it also stayed in all those little crevices, gave it some texture and some detail. And I'm pretty sure these are sold as well. They came out so good. I love them. I love doing that chateau with that aging wax over it. Thank y'all so much for hanging out with me tonight. I hope you have enjoyed the projects and got lots of inspiration. Next Tuesday, I'll be live for my normal Tuesday morning live craft and chat. And then Tuesday at noon is the new holiday IOD release. I can't wait to show y'all. I've been doing IOD for several years now, and I gotta say, this is absolutely my favorite holiday release ever. It is so, so good. And I can't wait to show y'all, and I'm working on projects for next week's video. So I hope to see you all then. Thank you so much for watching, and y'all have a great night.